Hello folks, welcome to the Edupedia world and I am Abhinay Gupta. Today again we'll continue with the topic, the appointment and qualification of directors. So in the previous lecture, we have dealt with the director identification number. We have seen the various sections and the provisions of those sections in detail, right? But there are something more that are covered in the rules and that will be seen in the current lecture. So in the previous topic, we have only seen the provisions of the section contained in the Companies Act 2013 in section 152 subsection 3, section 153 to section 159, all the various sections, right? We have seen that the then is mandatory. A person makes an application in DIR 3 to the central government gives allots the den in 1 month, then the director cannot hold more than one den. The director has to intimate the den to the company within a period of 1 month, and then once the company receives that intimation, the company has to intimate the same to the ROC, right? And wherever on any document, if a director is referenced, the den has to be mentioned, and we have also seen the penalties for contravention of the sections, right? But did we really understand what den is? Did we actually understand stepwise what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to make the application? What are the pros and cons, right? What is the allotment procedure? How do we intimate it to the company? How does the company intimate it to the ROC? What are the documents where we reference it? Right? There are great deal of details that we still need to see. There are complications when we actually go to file it. We know, yeah, we'll file it in Form DIR 3. Where do we get it? What if we make a mistake over there? Right? So there are many questions that are still unanswered, and that will be answered today in the lecture following. Right? Because today we will understand the rules. So in the following lecture, we'll understand a great detail about the director identification number. We'll understand what DIN actually means. Right? We'll also understand what is the authority that allots DIN. Yeah, we talked about CG, but it is actually the Ministry of Corporate Affairs that deals with it, right? We'll also understand that DIN includes DPIN, right? And these understanding of the DIN would be contained in the basic rule, Rule 2D. So what does Rule 2D has got to say? We'll see that now. So as the name itself suggests, that DIN is a director identification number. It is a number that is awarded by the central government, to be very specific, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Right? With the help of this number, they track the director. Right? They maintain a register of where they record all the tasks undertaken by the director. Wherever director has been referenced, wherever the director has signed, whatever documents the director has submitted with the ROC or with the company or with the government, entire database will be maintained with the reference of this director identification number. So a director identification number is allotted to any director at the very beginning. Whenever he is been allotted a director in the first company, he will have his DIN, and this DIN will remain with him for his life. So when he switches from company to company, the DIN continues. It is the same DIN that will be applicable, because DIN is not company specific, it is director specific, right? So DIN is basically allocated by the central government, right, to the individual, and that intends his appointment as a director, right, if he wants to be a director, and if he is an existing director of the company, that will be his identification, that yeah, now we as Companies Act identify this person as a director. Before that, even if he was a director without a DIN, he was not a director in true sense as per the Companies Act, right? He will be a director in true sense once he has been allotted the DIN. And any DIN has been allocated to the directors from long back, right? From the provisions of Companies Act 2015. So even if any DIN was allocated to any person, any director, prior to the notification as per the Companies Act 2013 and as per the rules in 2014, if there was any DIN that has been continuing from the previous Companies Act, that will still be applicable, right? And to clear on it, to lift the doubt, we would say that yeah, DIN includes the designated partnership identification number as well, right? So it is not only about directorship in a company, it is also about the directorship in the designated partnership of any partner as per section 7 of the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. So even that will be considered to be a DIN, but for that very specific purpose it will be considered only in the terms of limited liability partnership, but the procedures will be the same for both of it. So don't be confused if in your exam you have been asked about a DPIN instead of a DIN, right? And the full form is the Designated Partnership Identification Number. And we have already seen that yeah, to maintain the directory the DIN is important, but if now the manual procedure is over, we have gone to the technical era, the electronic era. So you have the MCA website, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website. Over there, if you want to go ahead and file any form, right, the director will not be allowed to do that because the prerequisite is the input of a DIN, right? So if the signatory, the director, does not define his DIN over there, the form will not be accepted, it will be rejected, right? So that is a prerequisite for filing any form with the MCA. So these provisions, this definition, these meanings were given under Rule 2D, right? Next we move on to Rule 9 and see what Rule 9 has got to say. So Rule 9 deals with the application for the allotment of DIN, right? As we have seen in section 154, where the CG allots the DIN, and section 153 where the director makes an application. So referencing to those sections, we have the details contained in the rule number 9. So as we have seen in the previous lecture, the application has to be made by the director and in form DIR 3, right? It will be made electronically, we have already seen, right? And we have already seen that the manner and fees will be prescribed. So now I'll tell you that the fees are being prescribed in companies registration officers and fees rules 2014, right? So the fees for application of DIN is prescribed in that rule. Okay, now so we know that yeah, the application of DIN will be filed electronically, but where? So the website of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, right, will be the portal that will support the allotment, the application of DIN by the director. So CG uses the website, the portal of Ministry of Corporate Affairs for this purpose. You will get the form DIR 3 over there. You file the form accordingly with filling in the requirements, attaching the various documents into it. The documents would include your photograph, your photo, your proof of identity, your proof of residency, and a specimen signature which is duly verified. Right? You will attach these things to your DIR form, fill it up in detail, and then scan them and post them onto the portal. So what are the various steps if we repeat? The steps are: download the form DIR 3 from the MCA website, MCA portal, fill in the required particulars, sign on that form, attach the required document, scan all of these, and then use a digital signature, right? And that digital signature will be verified by a CA, CS, or a CWA. If you're not familiar with the term, CA is a chartered accountant, CS is a company secretary, and CWA is a cost accountant. So any one of these can verify your digital signature. Otherwise, if you don't want to approach them, any CS, if whether or not in practice, if it is in full-time employment with the company in which you are about to be elected as a director, for which you are applying for the DIN, even a CS of that company can verify your digital signature. Any managing director from that company or any other director from that company can verify your DIN, your digital signature, right? That will be accepted, that is valid. And further, your last name is very important, right? To get the DIN allocated, you will have to input your last name, otherwise it shows an error. Now, if you don't have a last name, in any case, you can use the surname of your dad, your father, or the surname of your grandfather also, in case your father also does not have a surname, right? And when you do this, right, then you will have to attach an identification proof for your father's name, right, and give a declaration in form DIR 3A. So that would be the entire procedure of Rule 9, right? This is how you actually make an application for the DIN, right? Then we move on to Rule 10. Rule 10 deals with the allotment of DIN, right? So once you submit the DIN and once you submit the form DIR 3 for the application of DIN, you submit it on the portal of MCA. We have already seen that, right? And then you make the payment of the prescribed fees, which is prescribed under the company's registration, offices and fees rule 2014. So once you are done with these things, right, a unique application number will be generated for you. So after the payment is done, after the form has been uploaded, after the documents have been uploaded, you will get an auto-generated application number. Right? This is your application number according to this, or this is the proof that you have made an application, and to reference to the same, please use this application number. Right? And then after the application number is generated, that means that yes, your input for the document and the fees and everything has been completed. And that is when the central government would start its processing, right? And it would process your entire form, decide whether or not it is correct, whether the DIN should be allocated to you. And then if everything goes well, the DIN will be allocated to you within a period of 1 month. So the central government would decide upon the approval or the rejection of the application, and that would be communicated to the applicant, right, with the DIN if it is allotted, and if not, only the intimation would go to that person, right? That would be by way of either a letter of post or electronically, right? And that would be done within the period of 1 month. And God forbids, but in case if there is any defect in that application that you have made, then the CG will also intimate that defect to you, right? It will post it on the website that yeah, the application number this has this defect in its application, and will also send you a personal email on the email ID that you have given as an input while you were submitting the form of application. So once the defect has been intimated to the applicant, CG would assume a resubmission in the next 15 days with rectification of the defect that you have made, or by completing the incomplete form, right? And then you may have to file a fresh application, right? And that is when the CG rejects the application and then demands you to file a fresh application. And in the fresh application again, if the defect continues, right, then the application would be invalidated, and again the applicant would be informed about the rejection. That okay, we had rejected the application once, right, given you the reason for rejection and also given you an opportunity to rectify it, but you have resubmitted the same with the same defect continuing, right? And that will be informed to the applicant. And once the application for DIN is rejected, then the fees that had been deposited initially will not be refunded and will not also be adjusted in your further applications. That is a bad debt, right? And if everything goes well, the DIN will be allocated within the period of 1 month, right? And if any DIN has been allocated before the commencement of the act, that would continue to remain valid. You will not have to make a fresh application for DIN after the commencement of the act or after the notification, right? Next, we would see the provisions of Rule 11, right? And the last rule would be Rule 12. So now we'll consider the rule number 11. So Rule 11 is linked to Section 155, where you're not allowed to hold more than 1 DIN. If that is the case, you will have to surrender the DIN, the one of the DIN, right? Or that will be deactivated. So Rule 11 deals with cancellation or surrender or deactivation of the DIN, right? Now first we need to know who has the authority to deactivate the DIN, right? Who has the authority to cancel the DIN, or to whom do you go and surrender your DIN? So that can be done either with the central government or the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, right? You can go over there and then there you can surrender your DIN. The regional director of the North region, which is settled in Noida, also has the same authority, and if it appoints any other officer in its place for the said purpose, then that officer would also be authorized for the same. Right? So now, what are the cases when the DIN has to be cancelled or surrendered or deactivated? To be specific, the number one is duplication. If you have two DINs, if any director applies and gets two DIN, if there is a duplication, then one of them has to be cancelled. And the data from both the DIN will be merged into the DIN that is existing or that will continue. Because as per both the DIN, they may have signed certain documents or have certain records with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So that directory will be merged with the directory, that register will be merged with the register and to the register that persists, to the DIN that you will continue to hold, and the other DIN will stand deactivated. So one is a duplication, if there was a duplication by error. Second is if you have obtained a DIN by a wrongful or fraudulent manner, then. So first we need to understand what is wrongful and what is fraudulent, right? So wrongful manner means if you have obtained the DIN on the strength of a document which is not legally valid, right? Or on furnishing of any incomplete document, or if you have suppressed any material information that was supposed to be entered and on the basis of which your DIN could be rejected, if you have suppressed that information. That can be if there is any disqualification attracted to you or something else, whatever would be material for that purpose, and if you have suppressed that, then it is wrongful on your end, right? Or if you have given a wrong certification by giving a false information or misrepresentation, then that is considered to be wrongful, that you are trying to incorporate a wrong mean to get the DIN allocated to you, right? But on the other hand, fraudulent means obtaining DIN by the means which with an intent to defraud, with an intent to deceive any person or any authority or the central government. If you have an intention of deceiving somebody with that DIN or with the allotment procedure, then it is considered to be fraudulent in its approach. The other reason for surrender or cancellation of DIN would be the death of the person. If the person has died, there is no more to continue with that number. There's nothing more that would add up to his directory, right? To his record, to his register. So it is better to cancel that DIN or deactivate that DIN, right? If a person goes of unsound mind, if his mind becomes unsound now, if he is not in his senses, then there is no point of continuing with the DIN, because in any way the director will be disqualified now, disqualified to hold his office, right? Now, if any person has adjudicated to be declared as insolvent, his DIN can be cancelled now, because if he has adjudicated to be insolvent and then the court will declare him insolvent, he will not be continuing as director. Even applying for adjudication itself is a disqualification attracted. So he needs no DIN. So that is the scenario where the DIN can be deactivated, right? Or in any case, if any person has obtained the DIN but does not intend to use it, has not used it so far and does not intend to use it in further, it can come to CG and surrender its DIN. And for that, it will have to file a form, application for surrender, in form DIR 5, right? And the main condition for that is that the DIN should not ever have been used. And CG will verify the e-records for that purpose, whether or not something has been recorded on that data identification number. If everything is clean, the DIN could be surrendered and deactivated. And the last rule that we have today is rule number 12. So rule number 12 deals with the changes in the application of DIN that was made by the director or to be director. So if there is any change in your DIN application, then the intimation for that change has to be given to the central government within 30 days from that change, right? And that will be done in form DIR 6. And all the procedure would remain common, right? You'll follow the same procedure as you had followed for application of DIN in form DIR 3, right? So what you'll do is go to the MCA website, MCA portal, download DIR6, fill in the forms, fill in the changes, fill in what you need to update, right? Attach scanned proof for that changes, right? Attach your digital signature that will be verified by the chartered accountant or CS in practice or a cost accountant in practice, right? And then go and upload it and submit it into the MCA website. And then you submit it by scanning the copy and uploading it onto the MCA website. And then CG will take a note of that, would incorporate the changes as per your request, as per the information given on the form DIR6. And then there is a DIN cell, right? DIN cell established by the central government. They will give an intimation to the registrar of company that these are the changes into the DIN of this director. And then it will be the duty of the director to intimate the same to the company that these are the changes for which I have already filed an application with the central government and they will be changed. So this information remains updated in my DIN hereforth, right? So that is about the rules. So now I guess it is very clear with you and you have understood in depth as to what are the procedures for allotment and rectification of DIN, right? In rule 2 you have understood what DIN is and also that DPIN would be considered for the same purpose. You will follow the same procedures for a DPIN, which is designated partnership identification number, right? And then moving ahead, you have understood rule 9, 10, 11 and 12 about the application for DIN, the MCA portal, how you download it, you fill it up, attach the document, digitally sign, scan, upload. If everything goes correct, the DIN is allotted to you in 30 days, in 1 month, and if something goes wrong, CG will intimate it to you by posting it on the website, sending you the email by post or whatever mean, right? And then it is your duty to rectify it. If you rectify it and resubmit it back, no fees is refunded, fees is not adjusted, refile it, right, after rejection. Or if there is something wrong, adjust it. And if again something goes wrong, if the defect is not rectified, CG would again reject it, right? And then we have seen the various reasons for which the DIN could be surrendered, cancelled or deactivated, right? On the request of the person, it's death, if any disqualification is attracted, if the DIN is duplicated, if the DIN has been obtained by wrongful or fraudulent manner, whatever be the case, right? And if you yourself want to surrender a DIN, if you think you don't need it and you have not used it, you can do the same by filing an application in form DIR5, right, for surrender of your DIN. And CG will verify it, and if everything goes good, your DIN will be validly deactivated, right? Then you had rule 12, where if you make any amendment into your application, you can do that within 30 days and the procedure remains same. Download, fill, attach scanned copies, attach digital signatures, scan and upload, right? And CG will make the necessary changes. And then the DIN cell will intimate the same to the ROC and you will have to intimate it to the company. So that is all about the rule, that is all about the procedures in detail. We have seen the sections, we have seen the rule, and now I think what is DIN and how to apply for DIN and how to get it allocated is clear with you, right? So now you people are ready to go and get your DIN because there is no disqualification attracted, you need no qualification, go and get your DIN, right? You know all the procedure. Just try opening MCA website and looking for form DIR3. Go through the form. That will be a little more information to you, right? And that will give you a connect. That will help you sink this topic into your mind, right? Once you go and see it practically, the entire topic is submerged into your brain. It goes to your subconscious now, and then that will help you to bring it back into your examinations and solve questions on the same, right? So that will be all for the day. We'll continue with the chapter in the forthcoming lectures. So until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you.